The invoice that made a founder cry, a line-by-line unit economics breakdown. She slid the invoice across the table and said, "This is our best seller. 72% gross margin, we can't make them fast enough."
I looked at it, looked at her P&L, pulled up her shipping data, her return rates, her customer service tickets.
20 minutes later, she was crying. Not because I was mean, because that 72% gross margin product, when we calculated actual contribution margin line by line, cost by cost, 8%. 8. She'd spent 2 years scaling a product that was barely breaking even. And the worst part, the data was sitting right there in her systems the whole time. She just didn't know how to see it. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what I showed her. A complete unit economics teardown, every single cost between the supplier invoice and actual profit, line by line, so you never have to be the founder crying at that table. This is Supply Chain Moves. I'm Lara, and this is the math that separates profitable brands from busy ones. All right? Let's talk about the lie that most founders are living. You know your COGS. Of course you do. It's probably the first number you learned when you started this business. What does it cost to make the thing? Great, important. But here's what I need you to understand. COGS is chapter one of a very long book. Between that supplier invoice and actual profit in your pocket, there are at least 8 costs that most founders either underestimate, miscalculate, or completely ignore. And those costs, they're the difference between a 72% margin and an 8% margin. They're the difference between a business that scales and a business that scales itself into bankruptcy. By the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly what those 8 costs are. You're going to know where to find the data in your existing systems. And you're going to have a framework to build your own unit economics spreadsheet so you can see the truth about every single SKU in your catalog. This is the episode I wish someone had given me 10 years ago. Let's get into it. Let me tell you about Maya. Maya runs a home goods brand, kitchen products mostly. She was doing about 2.3 million in revenue when we met, growing fast, hustling hard, and completely exhausted. When I asked her what was working, she immediately pointed to this one product, a ceramic knife set. Beautiful packaging, great reviews, flew off the shelves. She said, "This is our hero. 72% gross margin. We're about to double our order." And I said, "Okay, walk me through the math." She pulled up the invoice. Product cost $14. Retail price $49.99. Simple math, $36 of margin, 72%. I said, "Great. Now let's look at everything else." What happened next took about 20 minutes. And by the end, Maya understood something that changed how she runs her business. I'm going to walk you through that exact conversation, every cost, every line item, so you can do the same exercise for your own products. Cost number one, landed cost. Maya's invoice said $14, but that's FOB cost. That's the price at the factory door in China. It doesn't include getting the product to her warehouse. So I asked her, "What's your freight cost? What are your duties? What's your customs brokerage fee?" She had to dig. Turns out freight was running about $2.40 per unit on that product. It's heavy, ceramic, takes up space. Duties at 7.5% added another $5. Customs brokerage spread across the shipment was about 30 cents per unit. So that $14 product landed cost was 17.75. Already her margin dropped from 72% to 64%, and we're just getting started. Where do you find this data? Your freight invoices, your customs paperwork, your 3PL receiving reports. If you're using a freight forwarder, they should be able to give you a per unit breakdown. If you can't find this data easily, that's a red flag. You need to fix that. Cost number two, warehousing and storage. Products don't just appear at your customer's door, they sit somewhere first, and sitting costs money. Maya was using a 3PL. They charged her per pallet per month for storage. This knife set came in cases of 12, 4 cases to a pallet. Average time in warehouse before sale, 47 days. When we did the math, storage was costing her about 65 cents per unit. Now, 65 cents doesn't sound like much, but remember, we're stacking these costs, and this one varies wildly by SKU. A product that sells in 2 weeks has almost no storage cost. A product that sits for 6 months, that cost explodes. Where do you find this data? Your 3PL invoices, look for storage fees, pallet fees, bin fees, divide by units, and pay attention to how long products actually sit. Your inventory aging report is your friend here. Cost number three, pick, pack, and fulfillment. When an order comes in, someone has to find that product, put it in a box, and get it ready to ship. That's not free. Maya's 3PL charged a base pick and pack fee plus additional charges for special handling. And here's the thing about this knife set, it required bubble wrap, fragile stickers, a custom insert to keep the knives from shifting. Special handling,
Standard pick and pack $2.20. Special handling upcharge 80 cents. Box and packing materials $1.10.
total fulfillment cost $4.10 per unit. Where do you find this data? Your 3PL fulfillment invoices. They usually break this out by order or by SKU if you ask. If you fulfill in house, you need to track your labor time per order type and your materials cost. Cost number four, outbound shipping. Maya offered free shipping. Most DTC brands do, but free shipping isn't free. It just means you're paying for it instead of the customer. This knife set was heavy, about 3 pounds boxed. Dimensional weight made it worse. Average shipping cost $8.40. Let me say that again, $8.40 per order on a $50 product. That's almost 17% of revenue going to the carrier. And Maya had no idea it was that high because she was looking at blended shipping costs across all products, not the actual cost for this specific SKU. Where do you find this data? Your shipping invoices or your 3PL billing. You need to look at actual shipping costs by SKU or by weight bracket. Your blended average is lying to you. Cost number five, payment processing. Every time someone swipes a card or clicks pay with Shop Pay, you pay a fee. Usually around 2.9% plus 30 cents for Shopify payments. Could be higher if you're using other processors or if you have a lot of international orders. On a $49.99 sale, that's $1.75. This one's easy to find. Check your Shopify payments reports or your Stripe dashboard. But don't forget it, a lot of founders do. Cost number six, returns and refunds. And this is where things got really painful for Maya. Her knife set had a return rate of 18%. 18%. People would buy it, use it once, decide ceramic knives weren't for them, and send it back. Or the packaging would get damaged in shipping, or they'd chip a blade and want a replacement. Here's what an 18% return rate actually costs. You've already paid to ship it to them. Now you either pay return shipping or they do and hate you for it. The product comes back and maybe you can resell it, maybe you can't. Maya couldn't resell most of hers because of hygiene concerns and damage. So she was eating the full product cost on returns, plus the labor to process the return, plus the customer service time. When we calculated the true cost of returns allocated per unit sold, $6.20, let me explain that math. If 18% of units get returned and each return costs you about $34 in lost product, shipping, and processing, you spread that cost across all units sold. That's 620 per unit. This is the cost founders underestimate most because they think about returns as exceptions. But when your return rate is 18%, it's not an exception. It's a cost of doing business. And it needs to be in your unit economics. Where do you find this data? Your returns dashboard in Shopify or your 3PL. Track return rate by SKU. Track what happens to returned products. Track the cost to process each return, then allocate it back to units sold. Cost number seven, customer service allocation. And almost nobody does this. Maya had one part-time customer service person. Salary plus benefits, about 32,000 a year. And when I asked her what percentage of tickets are about this knife set, she said, I don't know, a lot? We pulled the data. 42% of all customer service tickets were related to this one product. How to use it? Why did it ship? Where's my order? I want to return it. 42%. That means this knife set was responsible for about $13,000 a year in customer service costs. She sold about 9,000 units a year. That's $1.45 per unit. Most founders look at customer service as overhead, fixed cost, but it's not. Some products generate way more tickets than others. And if you don't allocate that cost, you're hiding the true profitability of your problem SKUs. Where do you find this data? Your help desk. Gorgias, Zendesk, whatever you use. Tag tickets by product or order. Run a report. See where your support time is actually going. Cost number 8, customer acquisition cost. Maya was spending heavily on meta ads to push this knife set. It was her hero product, remember? So it got the hero budget. Her blended CAC across the business was $22. But when we looked at acquisition costs specifically for this product, it was higher. Competitive category, lots of other knife brands bidding on the same audiences. Her CAC for the knife set was $31. Now, I know some people will argue that CAC shouldn't be in unit economics. They'll say it's a marketing cost, not a product cost. Here's what I tell them. If you have to spend money to acquire a customer to sell that unit, it's a variable cost of that sale. You can argue about where it goes on the P&L, but you cannot make good decisions if you're not including it in your product level math. Where do you find this data? Your ad platform, but you need to be tracking by product or product category, not just blended across the business. If you're not doing that, start. Okay, let's add it all up. Here's what Maya's 72% gross margin product actually looked like.
Revenue $49.99.
Landed cost $17.75. Storage 65 cents. Pick pack fulfill $4.10. Shipping $8.40. Payment processing $1.75. Returns allocated $6.20. Customer service allocated $1.45. Customer acquisition cost $31. Total costs $71.30. Wait, that's more than the revenue. Exactly. When you include CAC, Maya was losing $21.31 on every knife set she sold. Now, some founders calculate contribution margin without CAC. That's called CM2 versus CM3. If we take out the CAC, Maya's contribution margin was $9.69. That's about 19%. Still way below the 72% she thought she had. And if she needed to spend $31 to acquire each customer, she was scaling a money losing product as fast as she could. That's when Maya put her head in her hands. 2 years, hundreds of thousands in ad spend, all going into a product that was underwater. But here's the thing, once you see the truth, you can act on it. Here's what Maya did. First, she raised the price. $49.99 became $59.99. She lost some volume, but the customers who stayed were more committed and returned less. Second, she fixed the return problem. New product page with clear expectations about ceramic knives. A video showing how to use them. Better packaging to reduce shipping damage. Return rate dropped from 18% to 9%. Third, she shifted her marketing. Stopped treating the knife set as the hero. Started pushing a cutting board set that had way better unit economics. Let the knife set sell organically to people who were already looking for ceramic knives. Fourth, she renegotiated her fulfillment, found a way to ship in a smaller box without the custom insert, saved 80 cents per unit. 6 months later, that knife set had a 23% contribution margin. Still not her best product, but no longer a money pit, and her overall business profitable for the first time in 2 years. So, how do you do this for your own products? Step 1, build the spreadsheet. Create a row for each SKU. Columns for every cost we just covered. Revenue, landed cost, storage, pick pack fulfill, shipping, payment processing, returns, customer service, CAC. Step 2, gather the data. And I know this is the hard part. You're going to need to pull from multiple systems, your ERP or inventory system for landed costs, your 3PL for warehousing and fulfillment, your shipping reports, your payment processor, your returns dashboard, your help desk, your ad platforms. It might take you a full day the first time. Do it anyway. Step 3, calculate contribution margin for every SKU, sort the list. I guarantee you'll be surprised. Step 4. Make decisions. Kill the products that can't be fixed, fix the products that can. Double down on the products that are actually making you money. Step 5. Update it monthly. Unit economics change, shipping rates go up, return rates shift with seasons. CIC fluctuates. This isn't a one-time exercise. It's a monthly operating discipline. Here's why this matters. Most founders are making decisions based on gross margin, and gross margin is a lie. It only tells you what it costs to make the thing. It tells you nothing about what it costs to sell the thing. The eight costs between the supplier invoice and actual profit, those are where businesses bleed. Those are where the money disappears. And if you can't see them, you can't fix them. But if you can see them, you stop being a busy founder and start being a profitable one. Maya saw the truth. It hurt, but it saved her business. Don't wait until you're crying at a table to do this math. Do it this week. That's it for today. If you want help building your unit economics spreadsheet or you want to share what you found when you did this exercise, join us in the Slack community. Link is in the show notes. Next week, we're going deeper on one of the costs we covered today, returns. Specifically, why your return rate is probably higher than you think, what's actually driving it, and how to cut it in half without making your customers hate you. I'm Lara. This is Supply Chain Moves, and I'll see you next week.